What I'll say is welcome to everybody that's here for our first AGM face-to-face since the COVID lockdowns got us started on our digital journey in 2020. I'm hoping that all the recording around here works so that I can also say hello to anybody who's watching this on YouTube after today. So as you can see, we are in a new venue for this AGM, and it's really good to be back to seeing people face to face and having chats and conversations and all that kind of stuff. And I need to give a very big thanks to Penny and June for finding this venue for us. So yes, all very good. Thank you. So, where? That's it. Right. Excellent. The slides advance. Right, here is our agenda today. I'm hoping that we get all of this agenda done in about 45 minutes. We're going to cover the usual items, although I've rearranged the sequence a little bit. People who have been around for a few years may recall that at our AGM last year, I had an important charity update seeking new trustees. Following that call, we had several people put themselves forward to help the charity, and it feels like we've got a good, solid setup going forwards, and I will get to the various details about that as we get to those items. So, as I've done in recent years, before we get on to the agenda properly, I've got a quick 3-slide reminder of what HSP is and what the group does. This is for people who are new members or who are early in their HSP journeys. I know that many of you know this well, and it's basically the same thing that I have said for the last few years. So, HSP stands for Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia. It's an umbrella term. There are over 80 different types of HSP. It's a rare disease with estimates of prevalence around 3 in 100,000 people. Because it is rare, healthcare professionals have not usually heard of it. So the main symptom affecting pretty much everyone is spasticity or weakness in the legs, which deteriorates over time as the spine degrades and messages between the brain and the muscles are disrupted. There's great variation between individuals in the age at which HSP starts, in the speed of progression, and how much it affects individuals. Other symptoms frequently occurring are bladder urgency and frequency, pain, and fatigue. The effects of HSP can vary from day to day with individuals, and there is a long list of other symptoms which can affect people. Given that HSP is a rare disease, getting a diagnosis can be challenging. There are genetic tests available for quite a few types of HSP, but not all. The early symptoms of HSP are similar to other conditions, and the progression of HSP in an individual is very hard to predict. Many people with HSP often feel isolated, lonely, or depressed. Information about HSP is often hard to find, and some people find it hard to accept that they have this progressive condition. Right now, there are no cures for HSP. All of the available treatments are around symptom management. But it's worth remembering that there are great teams of researchers working on HSP, increasing understanding and looking for potential cures. And in fact, we have some over in the corner with us here today. So, now you've heard about HSP, a quick reminder of what the support group does. We have a mission statement. So people with hereditary spastic paraplegia, their families and carers are at the heart of everything that we do. Our information and support helps improve the quality of life for those affected by HSP. Our friendly support community helps with sharing ideas and reducing feelings of isolation. We support research into HSP, including developing treatments and improving understanding. So the support group is a registered charity. All the work that's done for the group is done on a voluntary basis. Our main area is providing support to those with HSP, which we do by sharing stories and information and by awarding grants to members to help purchase equipment. There are 3 main ways that we create our community: through meetings, through our newsletter, and online, and you'll hear more about these all a bit later on. So, picking up from the AGM last year, where we put out a strong call for new trustees, we had several people put their names forward. After meeting them all and discussing what they would like to achieve in the group, we made 3 trustee appointments. We have Estelle Marshall, Michael Payne and Helen Payne, who are all sitting on this table just here. So another year has passed, and it's also time to review where our trustees were in their 3-year terms. So Dave Harris comes to the end of his 3-year term and has offered to stand again. Last year, we appointed John Mason as a trustee for 1 year, and he has offered to stand again. Juan has had some changes both at work and at home in the last year and feels that it would be more appropriate to stand down and make room for someone with more time availability. So I thank Juan for his inputs and contributions over the last 2 years, and I'm going to keep in touch with him and see if his situation changes. Mike, Mitesh and myself are mid-term with no need to change. That means there are 5 trustees up for election this year, and to avoid a big block re-election in 3 elections in 3 years' time, some of our trustees are being elected for 2-year terms and others for 3-year terms. So, trustee election results are as follows. We have Dave Harris, who is unanimously elected as a trustee, and he's going to stand for a 2-year term. We have Estelle Marshall, also elected unanimously, standing for a 3-year term. We have John Mason, elected unanimously, standing for a 2-year term. We have Helen Payne, elected unanimously, standing for a 3-year term. And we have Michael, standing elected unanimously and standing for a 3-year term. So, those elections mean that we are now in place to make changes to our specific roles. As John Mason and Dave Harris are unable to attend the AGM today and giving their reports in person, I'm announcing our role changes right now so that when we get on to doing secretary report and treasurer report, Michael and Helen have adopted or helpfully volunteered to give those reports, and you know who they are when we get there. So there are no other role changes. So Mitesh is carrying on as membership secretary and I'm carrying on as chair. And Estelle has joined our trustee group, meaning that there are 8 trustees for this year. And I'm also very pleased to hear that John and Dave had offered to carry on for another year as trustees, which means we get another period of transition from them moving out of the secretary and treasurer role and to Michael and Helen taking on those roles. I asked John and Dave if there was anything which they wanted to say about stepping down from their roles. Dave said that there was nothing to be said. However, I need to let you all know that Dave has been our longest standing trustee, having been elected at the AGM in 2005. And Dave has been our secretary since the 2006 AGM. And if you wanted, you could read his own introduction to that role in the August 2006 newsletter, which is on the website. I've greatly valued Dave's contribution to the group and as a trustee. On the other hand, whilst John said that there were no comments to be made about himself, he did want me to thank Sonia. Those of you who have been members for a few years remember that Sonia and John have been team treasurer since John first became treasurer in 2007. I repeat the thanks that I gave to Team John and Sonia in our 2023 AGM when they stood down about looking after the accounts and keeping us trustees on track. But I also add extra thanks to both of them for stepping back into that treasurer role for the last year. You will hear from Helen and Michael shortly at the secretary and treasurer report points, and Estelle is going to use her physiotherapy expertise to take us through some exercises just after lunch. They will each introduce themselves at that time. I'm very pleased that we've got new people coming forward into the trustee group, which means we'll have fresh discussions and can hopefully carry on the friendly, supportive community moving forwards together. So, this slide summarises who the trustees are for the year 2025 to 2026. You've heard a bit about Michael, Helen, Estelle, John and Dave, but Mitesh and Mike are also important contributors to the team. Last year, we also had trustee applications from 2 other people who we couldn't take on due to our constitution limits on numbers of trustees. I have asked both of those if they are still interested in becoming trustees. One has said yes, and I'll keep you informed about updates as we go forwards with that. So, to finish talk of trustees, it's very important for me to thank all of our trustees for their time and their dedication to the HSP Support Group. They all put in a lot of time and effort, which collectively helps the group move forward to support you all. Right, and now it's time to move back onto our agenda. And I'm quite pleased to see Mitesh has arrived, which means when we get to a membership secretary report in a little while, I don't have to make it up as I go along. Right. Anyway, let's move on to committee reports. So firstly, we have our meetings committee. It's one of the really important threads of our community. Meetings can be any groups of any size, from 2 people meeting up in a cafe through to our largest event, this one, the AGM. They could have presentations or just be an informal chat. We're keeping a mix of virtual meetings on Zoom and face-to-face meetings so that we can satisfy members that prefer to meet up and chat in person, at the same time be open and accessible to many people who have more challenging travel issues. So the meetings committee is the group of people who organise the meetings. They give support to our organisers and look into new locations. So face-to-face meetings have continued in Birmingham, Fearing and Milford, with more people attending those. We've also started meetings in Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire and Leeds, and there's a new meeting organised for Glasgow and the offer of one for Milton Keynes. We're also actively seeking new meeting organisers for parts of the country which we don't yet serve. For those preferring digital meetings, Ian and Estelle's monthly nationwide Zoom meetings remain really popular. And there's now dedicated email addresses for all our meeting locations. And we've got a support group flyer, which we have available for distribution. And I was hoping to get that ready to be able to share that with you today, but I ran out of time. So we'll get that on the website as well. Then it's newsletter. Those of you who have been members will know that Ian Bennett was the editor of this newsletter up to 2024, with his last issue being just before last year's AGM. Since then, I'm pleased to report that Pip Lee has come forward to be editor for the newsletter. She has 20 years experience in the publishing industry, writing, editing, researching and publishing. Her first issue was published earlier this year, and I've popped the front cover of that up on the screen. You can download it from the website, that's already there. Whilst the newsletter looks different from Ian's style, it still covers all the important points. So in this issue, you can read meeting reports, you can read about the Molly suit, anesthesia, there's a selection of member stories and the usual details for meetings, contacts and the regular columns. So Pip is not able to be with us today, but she hopes to get the next issue out in early September. So if anyone has reports or contributions they want to send through, could they be sent please by mid-August? So you can email those to Pip directly using newslink@hspgroup.org, and I encourage you to share your stories. Our newer members may be much earlier on their HSP journeys, and hearing how people have solved problems or approached life can be a great help to people coming to terms with their diagnosis. In addition to encouraging you all to send your stories, I'll finish by saying thank you to Pip. I'm very happy, Pip, that you're sharing your publishing expertise with us in a way which helps so many people. Now, next we move to Research Committee. It's been another quiet year. The group is contributing to the EuroHSP SPG4 project, and I come on to that in the next slide. Similar to recent years, we had another student, Arush, write an HSP essay for the 2024 Student Voice Award, and I'm hoping that he will talk to the group about this, and that will likely be through Zoom. EuroHSP have changed their membership structure, so all members now contribute to the EuroHSP sponsored award given at the Tom Vardig Symposium. So the 2025 award went to a German team looking at how Botox affects gait and how it can be monitored. They had a broad spread of people with different types of HSP and different degrees of impairment, and they showed that gait analysis can be a valuable tool in monitoring treatment outcomes. And there are loads more details about this on the EuroHSP website. So on to the SPG4 project. So work has been progressing well on the EuroHSP project, looking into medication to treat SPG4 types of HSP. For those of you that don't know, SPG4 is the most common type of HSP, which affects the production of the spastin protein. At the end of the first year of the project, the drug pevonlistat was identified as a promising candidate, and this drug is currently being used to treat leukemia. Also, a biomarker was found which lets changes in spastin be measured. Progress during the second year, which we're just coming towards the end of at the moment, has shown that changing the level of spastin in cells can be beneficial, and that was shown for several different types of SPG4 genetic mutations. So people with SPG4 may have one of many different genetic mutations, and it's good to see this project looking at a broad spread of the mutations in its analysis. So investigations have shown that pevonlistat would need to be reformulated for use with HSP. In its current form, for the treatment of leukemia, it's using short-term high-level doses, whereas for HSP, it's more likely to need to be a lower level dose taken over a longer time frame. So the work items for the project going forwards are around testing or reformulation. And lastly, EuroHSP are also starting up a second project looking similarly at SPG11, but I don't have details on that at the moment. So next up, we're on to website committee. Just a short update here. The website has rolled on without much change over the year. There have been a few minor changes in the background, and thanks are due to Jenny Preston, who looks after the website for the group. Also shown is a reminder of what the committee gets up to. Now, Mitesh, I'm next handing over to you. So if you want to come up here, that would be good. So we have, so Mitesh is, do you want to? Yeah, okay.
Right, so yeah, hi everyone, so I'm Mitesh, I'm the membership secretary. So I think it's nice to see you all. It's been a few years since we've had a nice face-to-face AGM, and I think it's great to see so many faces. And I think the venue is amazing as well, by the way, just sort of coming in. I think it's great in terms of a location, so hopefully this is something we might be able to look at in future. So just a quick update, I guess, with membership. So I've kept it quite short, just to kind of give you the numbers and an idea of how many numbers there are around the country. So we've got 361 active members, so we're slightly higher, so it's great from last year, 48 more than 2024. So it's a good sign that we're getting new people joining. We've got 135 honorary members, and the numbers below are just sort of new membership per year. So we have unfortunately had a slight dip post-COVID. I think that was probably expected, but things have picked up in the last 12 months. So hopefully we'll continue to try and attract as many new members as possible going forwards. I think it's important to kind of try and capture as many people as possible so we can try and help as many people as possible, which I think it's a great group that we have set up, and I think we should try and encourage this for as many people as we can, especially in times where it might not be so easy to get service and access via the NHS. So I think trying to sort of promote the group is very important. And just a final note about gifting and e-communications, that's starting to increase, and we try and encourage as many people to join eGift if they can, just to try and give some donation back. So that's just a short, sharp summary from me. Any questions? I'm going to be around for the day anyway, and it's nice to see you all. So I'll hand it back to Adam.
Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks, Mitesh. That's super. After membership, we move on to fundraising. So the key message here is to give a really big thank you to everyone who supported the group throughout the year with donations and all sorts of fundraising activities. So on the screen, you can see 3 examples of fundraising from the last year. Mark McCall completed a skydive and raised over 2,600. And Mark is over there, so you can say hello to him. Right. In the middle, we have Jacob Day, who ran the marathon in Newport, raising nearly £600. The interesting thing to note with Jacob is that he's currently doing his PhD in Exeter with Andrew Crosby, so he has his HSP connection in through that route. And for people that were around when we had an October social meeting after COVID in Tally-Ho, Jacob was at that meeting. Also shown, we have Helen, who is sitting just here, who had the very generous idea to have received money for the group instead of getting a birthday present, and she's raised over £1,300. And so there are many other people who have raised money doing a whole range of other things, and we thank everybody. So there are ways that you can raise money for the group. You can use easy fundraising to get small donations to the group when you do shopping online at no extra cost. We've got the usual routes through Just Giving and PayPal, and there's a whole host of other ideas on our website. So we're happy to support with fundraising ideas which people have, and we can put up fundraising stories on our social media channels and promote them through all sorts of ways. And yeah, please let us know. Okay, so that is a lap of the committees completed, and there's another important piece of news to mention. So in addition to Pip becoming the editor for Newslink, she also put forward a proposal to write a book about HSP. As there aren't any books written about HSP, we decided that this would be a useful resource for our members and therefore a good use of our charitable resources. So Pip is currently about 2/3 of the way through the book and is trying to get it completed by October. Pip has also been talking with Estelle, just here, who is contributing with her physiotherapy knowledge. Proceeds from the sale of the book will come to the support group, and we'll keep letting you know when it's complete and how you can get your own copies. You could persuade someone that you might like it for Christmas. Pip's given me the contents for the book, which I've popped up on the screen there. She says that she would like to have a few short case studies in her book. So if you have something to say about your experiences with HSP, then drop Pip a line. She is specifically looking for people to share stories about when they first noticed something was not right, about the experience of being in a family of HSPers, stories about diagnostic journeys, or hints and tips for things that do work or don't work. If you would like to share your story, she would like to hear from you before the end of August, please. So, and of course, you have Pip's email was on the previous slide and has completely fallen out of my brain. Yep, newslink at hspgroup.org. Thank you, Estelle. Okay, so we have the update on social media channels. You can see statistics for YouTube channels, which shows overall we've had about 18,000 views of our videos, with the AGM presentations being the most popular ones. Many members have said that having the AGM on YouTube is important, and I'm hoping that we've got the technology working well so this one can join the club. On the channels themselves, we've got a quick reminder, we've got five different channels there: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And the numbers in brackets are the change in followers for each channel from last year, showing that our Facebook page, which has been around the longest, is still the most popular. It looks like X, formerly Twitter, is beginning to fall out of favour. Now, I'm far too old to know if we should be putting things up on newer channels, so if you have TikTok or Snapchat experience and think it would be worth us setting up channels, then please come and have a chat with me. Okay, so there's another new idea which we are considering. The NHS have set up a national disease registration service, and we are considering the risks and benefits of sharing our data with them. The new service aims to collate data on a range of rare diseases, aiming to give better information to clinicians and to people with conditions, including being able to give statistics. So we have an opportunity to be one of the early conditions in this system. Ing has been looking into the early stages of what is necessary. If people give their consent, we can share limited information about people's HSPs, which would effectively start up a UK registry for HSP. And that would then help understand demographics about HSP and provide routes for researchers and pharmaceutical companies to find people to help in their research. In a broader way, it may help identify health inequalities, improve care planning, and improve the development of the NHS app. So just to be very clear, none of you have given your consent for us to share your information for this purpose. So if we decide that we would like to do this, we'll be in touch seeking consent to take it forwards. And I'll report back later in the year after we have talked about this some more at our trustee meetings.
Can I just say something here?
Yeah, please do.
I can't help thinking something like this is so important to help in helping to raise the profile of HSP, such a rare condition, and anything that does that, highlights it, raises the profile.
Yeah, I agree completely. And so there's a really strong argument saying, yes, that's what we should do. But we also know that some people don't want their information shared, and so we have to work out the best approach for it.
Because it depends on what sort of information.
Yeah, and so that's what we need to get to the bottom of. Which information would we want to share? Do we have that information from our people? And so there's a whole question to talk around setting up, getting the information ready to be able to share. And if we do want to do that, we need to get your consents, all of your consents to do that.
But again, lastly, just to say, if we want new drugs to be developed and trialled, new approaches, new care planning, this sort of thing, it's important that people know about it, know of it.
I agree completely. Yes. Yes.
People know about Parkinson's, they know about multiple sclerosis, but not many people know about it.
Quite. We are very unique in that respect. Oh, I wonder why that says BBC. Right. That's the surprise slide of the day. I didn't know that was going to say that. Anyway. Well, the camera's just there, actually. Right. I think that probably means I'm out. My numbering is now all out of sequence. Never mind. That's a quick side of our activities for the last year, alongside a couple of other upcoming things. And that brings us back to our agenda and into some of the more formal aspects of the AGM. So next up, we're going to have our secretary report, and I'm going to ask Helen to come up and give that report. And she's going to introduce herself.
Hiya, I'm Helen. I'm obviously taking on, you've seen me up on the screen. I've met a few of you today, hopefully. I'm doing this, this is not my report, this is David Harris's report. So I'm going to just read it as he said it. Since the last AGM, about the meetings, since the last AGM, there have been 5 online meetings. He's given the dates, I'm not going to give them to you. And John Mason had resumed treasurer duties until a replacement's found. Membership grants, he does the grants as well. During our last financial year, 10 grants to members have been approved, one of which was for a Calvert Trust holiday. Research grants, no significant change during the year. Inquiries via the website, It's also his role, and that should be mine. Inquiries continue to arrive steadily. They really do, actually. There's a lot. Inquiries continue to arrive steadily with the website generating new requests every week. This year, we've received over 58 inquiries since the last AGM. Interestingly, we seem to be able to be being contacted more from overseas. We've had messages from China, USA, as well as France, Ireland, and Malta. We also receive a similar number of spam messages, usually deleted as irrelevant to our situation. There was quite a lot of those as well. Gobbledygook they are. There is thanks as always to member Jenny Preston who maintains the site, and I want to say thank you to David Harris, because actually he's done a good job, I think, and he's advised me, and I really appreciate it, and he's staying on, which is good for me too, because I can ask him questions. So thank you.
Right. Thanks very much, Helen. That's great.
Adam, may I comment, please?
Please do.
Thank you. My son was the recipient of the grant for the Culvert Trust.
Oh, yes.
So thank you on his behalf. And my daughter Helen is here and received some support for a powered wheelchair. So from our family, thank you.
Very pleased to be able to help, yes. Right.
And so from moving on from Secretary report, we then move on to our Treasury report, and I'm going to hand over to Michael, who's going to introduce himself and then give the report.
Thank you very much, Adam. Helen and I became involved in the group last year because our daughter was diagnosed with HSP, and she's had it for about 2 years now. I volunteered to be a trustee and utilised my nearly 40 years experience as an accountant to become treasurer, because John had done a sterling work for 20 odd years and was looking to retire, so I'm happily taking over from him. So these are his accounts, which I've followed quite closely, so I can give you a brief background on them. As you can see, we just a fraction over 61,000 of revenue was achieved in the last year, the majority of which, 42,000, came from donations and legacies. And the main element of that was a donation from the estate of a lady called Jo Rainey, who died a number of years ago. I think she was Australian, because when she died, she left her estate to about 25 charities, and it's taken this length of time through the Australian courts to. No, I got it wrong.
No,
Oh, sorry, I thought you.
that is an in agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It's taken many years to go through the Australian courts, and we eventually received £30,000 last year, and we believe we will receive a bit more when all these loose ends are sorted out. We received a couple of other large donations, one from a funeral director, from someone who obviously died and wanted the donation at their funeral to come to us. The next large element is £12,000. From the charitable activities, and Adam's already shown the slide of the main contributors there. And then the subscriptions, and the other income is a little bit of interest. So we had just over £61,000, which was higher than the previous few years. So we go on to the next slide, which is the expenditure. We have a few fundraising expenses, which is primarily Just Giving, who charges £18 a month to use their site. 6,400 was grants to members, so there were 9 grants in total. We have a maximum grant of £1,000 per person per grant. 4 of those were given in the last year, and the others were for slightly smaller amounts. The newsletter costs might look high, but that includes the cost of the book that Pip is writing. And so with a total expenditure of 23,000, you'll soon work out we made just over nearly £40,000 excess revenue over expenses. So the net funds for the group increased from 117,000 to 155,000 in the year. So we're quite healthy now, and I think what we probably need to do is look at some research grants so we can utilise these funds. There's there's no point in it sitting in the bank indefinitely. We should try and utilise it as much as we can for the benefit. At the end of April, £148,000 was sitting on deposit and 8,000 was in a current account. I'd also like to thank Sonia and John for their work in preparing the accounts and looking after the books over the last year, and also to Chris Harvey, who is the auditor of the accounts. All three give their time freely and willingly, and they don't charge the group for what they do. So we're very grateful for all the work they do. So unless anyone's got any questions, which I hope not.
Very easy one.
Oh, I'm good for easy questions.
Okay, what's the restricted fund for? Is that the grants?
When people raise money on behalf of the group, we contact them and ask them if they want the money they raise to go towards, excuse me, to go towards research grants or to cover the general cost of the fund. If they choose to go against research grants, then it's sort of segregated and will come out of that.
Yeah, the restricted funds essentially is what we earmark will be the first thing to go for funding research projects.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much then.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so that you've already seen the results of our trustee elections, and there are a few other formalities that we need to get through. So we've used the same arrangements for voting as we have in the last few years, making our voting more accessible to members using both electronic and postal voting. So overall, we had 64 members cast our votes, which is higher than last year and similar to previous years. So this year, around 18% of membership voted. Last year was 11, previous years was more like 20%. So there's still a silent majority of members who choose not to vote. So a few members chose to abstain from some of the votes, but for all of those items, the minutes, the accounts and the trustee report, I'm pleased to say that they were approved unanimously. So we are now coming to the end of the AGM. And before I close with news about what is happening next today and a date for your diaries, I will just ask if we have any other business which members need to raise. Go on.
Yeah, could I just, on behalf of everybody here, can I just thank all the trustees and the management committee for all their efforts and hard work in providing the services that the group does. It's so important to hear actually somebody say, you're not alone, we can help.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody else? No, it's nice and easy. Very good. That really brings us to the end of the AGM. So this page is a reminder of our mission statement. I want to thank everybody here for taking the time to join us today at this AGM, and to everybody who makes a contribution to the group in any way at all. So thank you all.